When it comes to how you dress and how you look in front of the camera, wear things that you wear in front of clients that make you money. You don't need to overthink this because if you're confident enough to wear it when they're handing you a check and you're delivering whatever type of facilitation or keynote or whatever, then it's good enough for your imagery.
Welcome to another episode of From Startup to Wunderbrand with Nicholas Kuhne. I try and bring on different folks on this channel because who knows what we're going to need when we are updating our brand and creating our brand. So today we have John Demato, who is a visual storytelling expert and photographer who works exclusively with speakers, authors, coaches, trainers, and consultants. So we're going to learn a little bit about, do we still need photographers? Why do you need an authentic visual style? And John is the guy who's going to talk to us about that. So John, welcome.
Thanks for the invitation. I appreciate it. Let's talk about some pictures, shall we?
Let's do that. So this was a tough one for me because I'm normally the one selling brand projects and logos and things like that. Photography has been sort of a completely different area where you guys are almost like magicians, you guys generally work alone and you're hidden in, behind the scenes, and clients don't generally get to see you because it's normally agencies and that who work with you. But maybe talk to me a little bit about the kind of work that you do and the kind of clients you work with.
Sure. So I'm a branding, event, and book photographer who specifically works with experts who train, coach, consult, speak on stages, and they write books. And what my job is to be able to unearth who the person is, who they serve, the problems they solve, how they solve those problems. And my job is capture all that stuff to create a comprehensive image portfolio so they can use that across every single touch point of their online presence. And the goal is to position them as the authority in their space while also revealing aspects of their personality and essence. Because after all, the people that I serve are in the business of building relationships. And as a result, these images help facilitate that connection with those that are on the outside looking in, wondering whether or not they are the solution to their problems.
And I suppose your art form goes back quite a long way, because if we look at royal portrait artists doing these portraits for kings and queens and dukes and things like that, they carried the personality, they carried all of these elements. It could be the type of cape they're wearing. It could be the monkey on their shoulder or an eagle floating above them. You're pretty much doing the modern version of that. How important is it? Can't I just take iPhones take great photos now. Why can't I just take a selfie of my face and use that as my training photo? Why do I need to pay cash money for a photographer like you?
Well, by the way, it's actually still important that you use that camera that's in your pocket. It's not like you have a paparazzi following you around 24/7 capturing photos of your day-to-day life that you could share with your audience anyway. However, the foundational images are important to have taken by a professional because, we understand what exactly it is that you need in order to position yourself in front of your audience in a way that's going to capture their attention. There's a time and a place for the fun snapshots. There's also a time and a place for professional images.
And it's amazing how important those professional images, because I do a lot of interviews and a ton of guests get in touch with me. And the amount of trash images that I've had to deal with to put on promotional items is actually quite staggering. And these are guys who are going onto a podcast. I know podcast is generally audio, but you got to promote yourself. And the funniest thing for me, and I'm sure you've come across this, John, is the photos are from 10 years ago when they had more hair. And then this guy comes onto the show and I'm like, who the hell is this guy? Why has he got no beard? Or why has he got a beard? What is this? It's quite strange. So maybe talk to me about the importance of keeping your portfolio up to date and why it's important not to use photographs from when you had no wrinkles and looked young and sprightly to promote your brand.
Right. I want to, before I answer that question, I want to ask you a question about just that. When you look at that image and you say that it feels strange, what else do you feel about that person when you see that image? When the way they look in that photo versus what they look like in real life today, how does that make you feel?
I My first reaction is it's a bit dishonest. That's literally the first thing that I think. And it obviously means that they're not doing terribly much, which is why they are using old photography and they don't care that much about their personal brand. And I've seen that and it comes across and it shows a lack of professionalism. So those are, if that's enough for you.
And that actually would be my answer. Ultimately, what that does is everything you just said, and I'd add a nice little heaping layer of they just broke any form of trust that you may or may not have had with them, and therefore they are not going to be a solution to your problem moving forward if that were someone that you were looking at to hire. And that's the answer.
Absolutely. It's called catfishing, I think is one of the terms. And this is maybe something you can talk to, and maybe you've had this experience with customers. As you get older, you get a little bit uglier and a bit wrinklier and a little bit gray. I had great fucking hair when I was young. I mean, looked like a monchichi, basically. And now I've got to, I've got to use a lot of MAC product to make sure my forehead doesn't shine too much with this nice round light that I've got in front of me.
Right.
How do you deal with that issue of people getting older and saying to them, it's okay, you look fantastic. We love the wrinkles. It gives you, I love the gray in my beard. These are positive attributes. The young 20-year-old beautiful version of you is not what people want.
Well, it's very simple. Because at the end of the day, the people that are paying them money to help solve their problems could give a shit about what they look like. And the truth of the matter is, the long story short is you need to get over yourself, because the more that you sit there and belabor age and time and things that you cannot control, you are losing out on helping those people that you could be doing all this work with. So as a result, own what you have. Make sure that you don't try to hide it and lose their attention or their trust, and move forward and get to the damn job.
Yeah, it's such a simple thing, but people are strange creatures. But let's go into some business issues now. So one of the things that you deal with is developing a consistent strategic visual plan. And it says, I'm going to read it out because it's important and this is not my specialization. Learn how to map out a cohesive visual strategy that ensures your photos align with your brand and messaging. So there's a lot going on there. And let's unpack that a little bit in terms of your brand, your messaging, and being cohesive. Why are those important elements?
It's important because if you say that you are for example, in my world, let's say you're a $30,000 keynote speaker, right? Well, where are the photos that prove that? You say that you train large teams and work with companies and associations. Where are the photos that prove it? You say that you're a leader and that you're confident and that you have empathy and all these other wonderful qualities that make you the leader you are. Where are the photos that prove it? When you go out there and you write all this content that's on your website, in your online content, whether it's a post or an article on LinkedIn or wherever, and you don't have images that reinforce your words, those words will ring hollow. As a result, the way that you help create that visual credibility is by showing people what it is that you do for them. And that way it helps solidify in their minds that you are legitimate and that you are someone to be trusted, and ultimately that you're the person that's the best fit for them.
And I guess people can figure out that if you're spending money on doing this professionally, you're taking it seriously and you take your role seriously. And I've had a similar thing where I've done a ton of keynotes, but I've got no visual. I don't have any examples of the great work that I've done. I haven't planned ahead. I've done keynotes at startup conferences around the world, and I've got photos from just really dodgy photos, and I can't use them, or it's dark and it just doesn't look professional. There's consistency in photography and style and so on, but does this go into how you dress, how you comport yourself, the kind of lighting you have? How do you see consistency in terms of amplifying your brand?
Right. Well, if you post some photos of you that are very high quality and then you disappear for 3 months, that's not exactly going to be a good case for you to be seen as an expert or as an authority. And in order to maintain that top of mind status as that authority, as that expert, it's important to roll out imagery that consistently reinforces that message. And when it comes to how you dress and how you look in front of the camera, as far as I'm concerned, the most important piece when it comes to that is wear things that you wear in front of clients that make you money. You don't need to overthink this, because if you're confident enough to wear it when they're handing you a check and you're delivering whatever type of facilitation or keynote or whatever, then it's good enough for your imagery. Because the last thing you want to do is put on a show. You want to go out and rent a whole bunch of things that you would never buy in a million years, but it's what you think people want to see you in. That's sending the wrong message to them, because you're setting the wrong impression. You want to set the impression up from the moment that you meet them, that this is who I am, this is how I operate, this is the process, this is what you're going to get out of this, and this is what you can expect the next time.
If I was a podcast host, just as an example, for a friend of mine, and I had to come to somebody like you and say, look, I've reached 100 episodes. I've now reached a point where I'm looking professional and I need to take myself up a level. Let's go through the steps of what kind of brief I would need to give you, or what that process would look like. So if somebody comes in brand new, doesn't know how to use a photographer, it's their first, first rodeo. How does that process look?
Well, the good news is that I have a process that people can use, because before anybody steps foot in front of the camera, there is a very thorough strategy call that happens beforehand, where I'm asking over 20 questions that unearth, why you need these photos, what perception you want to create in the minds of those that you serve, what aspects of your personality do you want to convey. In addition to your podcasting, how else do you serve your audience? What does that look like? Does it also involve a screen? Does it involve being in person one-on-one? Is it one to a group? Is it one to many? And then what we then do is, after everything is ironed out through these questions, we then put together a very comprehensive shot sheet that is that lists all of the different promotional images, the headshots, the wider portraits, some vertical portraits, things that are needed for social profiles, for the website, for the speaker and media kits, for other printed materials. And then we look into the different lifestyle components that are required, what your day-to-day life looks like, what your work behind the scenes for your clients looks like, what you reflecting to yourself and brainstorming ideas look like. Everything down to the type of pen and, moleskin or notebook or Post-its or whatever way you use to create those thoughts. And then, of course, all of the ways in which you serve your clients. And we recreate them one by one to systematically build that comprehensive image portfolio that gives you a wide breadth of how you can communicate visually to your audience what it looks like to be in your world.
And I suppose this takes away quite a lot of the stress that folks have in terms of content creation.
Oh, yeah.
You don't just have one photograph. You've got a variety of photographs that you can then use for the entire year. This is not something that I can just use tomorrow and then, that's it. As you're talking about a whole bunch of different opportunities to communicate with people throughout your customer journey. You can show the sale, you can show this is happy me, this is serious me. And those kind of images can be used on websites, social media, emailers, etc.
Yeah.
mugs,
Yeah.
things like that.
Hats.
So hats, no, definitely hats. And I think people rely too much on stock photography and think their wife can do it, or they can do it on their phone. The difference that a quality photograph can make can be the difference between a $10,000 deal and a $100,000 deal.
100%, because we're dealing in the world of perception in terms of building relationships with people. And if you're just using one photo everywhere, that immediately signals to people that you look cheaper than what you charge right off the bat, because you're not taking that seriously. It just feels like you're stretched thin and you're just throwing it out there. And by the way, the other thing with regards to having a wealth of these photos is, yes, you can stretch them out for over the course of the year. But what it also does is give your team, the marketing team and design team, a wide breadth of creative latitude to be able to leverage so many different types of images in different ways. Because the goal is to not use every single photo that's in that portfolio. I mean, for a 4-hour session, I'm delivering over 500 photos. I don't expect anyone to use that. In fact, I plan on them not using that. But what I do plan on them doing is having harder creative conversations about, wow, we have 3 photos that can really fit the bill for this particular banner or graphic or whatever is being created. Which one do we think is going to resonate the most? Well, I don't know. Let's A/B test it. Now you have the opportunity to, instead of splitting the same image in 2 different things, use 2 different images and see what happens. Based on the emotion, based on the aesthetic of the photo, based on your outfits, based on the activity, whatever it happens to be, to do that split test. Now you have a chance to really hyper focus and see what resonates most with your particular audience when you have the opportunity to do so.
And in this current environment where everything is starting to look exactly the same, because all of these AI photos are referencing already made artwork that's out there, the opportunity to do something new and unique that is going to separate you from your competition is quite cool. I mean, last winter I did a photo shoot in, I don't know what it is in American numbers, but minus 15 degrees Celsius, which is probably minus 12 turkeys or however you count in America, but really cold. And I was drinking a cup of tea with my suit and frozen feet, and that was fun, and it was different, and it showed off a little bit of our the Norwegian environment that we're in. So that was quite fun.
Wow. I mean, it also shows that you can stand the elements. That's cool.
Exactly. And I'm actually from Africa originally, so being in the cold and the snow is a real weird experience for me. So we've gone through some of the process, some of the absolute great value that folks can get out of just having a variety of photos that really show them off, and being up to date. I can't emphasize that, being up to date. Honestly, I've seen some of the folks who've got photographs and it was literally 20 years ago. And I've got some photos where I look amazing, 20 years ago. I might roll them out every now and then for folks who don't know me, but I can't use them. They're great, but it's just ridiculous. And there is that factor of, you see the promo photo and then you see the person, you're like, come on, man.
Yeah, I've seen it too. And it's very off-putting, because at the end of the day, when you put something out like that, aside from what was said earlier in regards to that kind of thing, it's just, I don't know, it just feels so cheesy, for the lack of a better phrase.
Well, the other thing, John, is because for example, I'm doing a lot of podcasts and I get a lot of folks reaching out to me, and a real quick way for me to filter through the good guys and the bad guys is to look at the quality of the photography that they give me. If I see somebody who's got good quality studio or professional photographs, I'm saying, okay, well, these guys probably are taking this seriously. If it's somebody who's sending me a pixelated image from the 70s or early 90s on their Sony Ericsson phone, it's generally a hard pass. But it also makes them look bad when I put that's the only images I've got, and I put that on the promotional material. It's not great. So anyway, we'll chat about that.
Good.
Authenticity in these photographs. You mentioned that you've got to wear the same, the outfits and clothes that you are going to be wearing in a client meeting. What other ways are there to show authenticity and storytelling in these images? Because it's not just somebody standing there. And I was trying to do a little joke earlier where I was just with my watch. And, all of these guys will be holding their watch like this, or stupid shit like that.
Yeah.
So talk to me about
Don't do that.
About authenticity.
So the way to be authentic would be to, a lot of the way that we capture genuine images, it's all within, yourself. Once I understand the type of perception you're going for and the aspects of your personality that you want to convey, that is the North Star in terms of the emotion that we want to exhibit in these images. As a result, what we're looking to do is get different photos of the person's facial expression. It's exhibiting those aspects, those words, as well as their body language. When you inspire the person in front of the camera to deliver those words through their own, through themselves, as opposed to saying, stand like this with your hands against your hip for a power pose, or let's throw a bunch of confetti up in the air and start laughing like you just won the lottery and let's get that photo. Those are contrived. And there is a place for some of those to be cute and fun and sprinkle them in, but a lot of people tend to lean on those contrived images way too much. It really should rely mostly on what you are displaying in front of the camera, as well as the activities that you're engaged in front of the camera, that those are genuine representations of what it actually looks like. All of that stuff mixed together is what really creates genuine, authentic photos.
You've chosen quite a niche, which is you do this visual storytelling and photography for speakers, authors, coaches, trainers, and consultants. So you've gone into quite a niche, because there's product photography, there's photographing volcanoes and things like that. What got you into this space in the first place?
Well, if I shot volcanoes, there's a very good chance I'm going to drop dead or melt. So that's why I figured that was a bad idea. The reason why I started working with experts is because when I first quit my job from the television industry, I was dead set on being a headshot photographer. And when I quit, I just assumed, oh, well, I'm in New York City, big market, lots of people need headshots. I should have no problem building a business. Of course, I had no idea what the hell I was doing. And surprise, surprise, no one called. And I had no idea what the hell to do next. So I started going online and specifically going to LinkedIn and kind of looking up what some people were saying and try to learn a little bit about how to market myself. And I stumbled across this group of people where they would be speaking on stages about marketing and personal development and business and leadership, sales. And I'm like, who the hell are all these people? I only thought that former presidents did this kind of thing, or Tony Robbins. I didn't even know this was a thing until I started seeing it. And as a former producer, I'm like, this is kind of cool, because they're performing, but they're speaking, but they're giving knowledge. It's not just entertaining. And the next thing you know, I'm working with these people, because I found that not only was I able to make a living off of photographing these people on those stages and their portraits, but I'm also learning something. So I'm basically killing two birds with one stone, and I'm not even paying them. They're paying me. So it's pretty cool.
So being in the speaker and coaching industry, you must have met a couple of interesting folks. So you spoke about learning. Which event that you've been to, or which person that you photographed, has had the biggest impact on you?
Oh, man, that's like picking one of my favorite children, and I don't have any kids. It's funny you mention that, Nicholas. It's like I have a Mount Rushmore of different people for different reasons. But if I had to pick one particular expert that absolutely inspires me every single day, is probably my good friend, colleague, and someone I still work with, Phil Jones. He wrote a book called Exactly What to Say. He's built an entire community around that book. Basically, the idea being around stop counting your conversations and learn how to make conversations count. It's all about using magic words to persuade people to create greater outcomes that provide win-win opportunities for everyone involved in that conversation. And every time I'm in one of his rooms during one of his masterminds, even though I know almost every single bit that he shares, because I've shot, I don't know, 15 of these things, it's always refreshing, inspiring, energizing to hear these things. So I would probably say him.
That's awesome. You obviously have to do quite a lot of personal branding and marketing yourself because unless you've got a whole team of photographers behind you. What is your approach to marketing? Obviously, you're on this podcast, getting your name out there, but what are some other ways that you're promoting yourself? And what do you think has worked? Is it networking? Is it word of mouth? Is it doing a Google ad, a billboard? What's your process?
I should try a billboard. I've never tried that before. My approach is to walk the talk that I put out there with the imagery that I create, which is to be as genuine as possible. And the way that I convey that genuineness is through writing a lot of content. I put together 3 blogs a week, 13 a month. I've been doing that for over 7 years. It provides me not only an opportunity to share my expertise with people and give them greater context into why these photos are valuable for them to have in their portfolio, but it also gives me an opportunity to kind of work out ideas and insights as I evolve and grow my work and kind of be able to think more critically about the kinds of things that I say on podcasts just like this. But in terms of actually bringing in potential clients, the best way has been and probably always will be for me, word of mouth referrals through the people that I've already worked with. I would say 95% of my work is straight up inbound referrals from other people that have either heard about me from shooting one of their colleagues 6 months ago, didn't really need me, kept me in the back of their minds. Then the next thing you know, oh, I need photos. They go check me out, and then they see all the aforementioned content that I've been creating for all of these years. And I use my content as a qualifier for people and also for others who do keep tabs on me more consistently to stay top of mind. But ultimately, it always revolves back to those relationships that I've already built with people who've been in front of my camera.
2025 is going to be probably a good year for you because a lot of people in New York are going to be looking for new jobs, I think, after the elections and recalibrating their careers. What does 25 look like for you? It sounds like it's when people engage, it's with you. Do you have a team? Do you want to grow a business, or are you enjoying being the main man?
I would love some help. I am a team of me, but I have my eyes set on just growing and evolving the branding event work that I'm already doing. I'm looking to expand and create a larger market for the book photography that I do. I call it book boudoir because I'm not just shooting the outside of the book. I'm actually opening the book up and shooting a little bit on the inside, Not too risque, not too over the top, just right. And the third piece that I am thinking about for next year is actually the long game, which is how do I monetize my expertise and my experiences and my passion for visual storytelling to create opportunities to serve my people in a way that does not just involve doing the clicky clicks with the camera, but actually helping them on a more strategic level with how to intentionally select, use, leverage, and replace photos.
Well, it seems you got a lot on your plate. I mean, you're churning out a lot of content, and that's handwritten content, not AI content. There's things like Patreon, there's things like Substack, and people are starting to pay cash money to support people who are creating great content. So if you're a content generator anyway, the world needs proper content generators And AI needs you as well. They need to be able to have lots of reference material to create the next generation of great AI photos, John.
I will tell you that ChatGPT and I are pretty good friends. But the way that I leverage ChatGPT currently is it's more of a marketing assistant, copywriting assistant, business development strategist. It's not a copy paste operation, that is for damn sure. But in terms of leveraging AI, I'm all for that. And in terms of your suggestions, thank you for that. And I'll take a peek at it, because not only could I generate new stuff, but I got a treasure trove of stuff on that website that's currently a graveyard of disabled pages of ideas that I've decided to put on hold. Maybe I could dust them off and see what happens.
Absolutely. Definitely do that. So, John, where can I send folks to check out your portfolio? And if they've got an event, and you mentioned New York, so you're focused in New York. Are there any? Do you fly out? Do you go to different events and places? How does that work?
So I am a medallion status member for Delta. I actually like to get around for events, for branding, for different types of speaker and expert related activities to photograph. Either clients come to me to New York, I have a place to photograph them, a co-working space that I use, or we meet in the middle. Say if I'm shooting somewhere in the middle of the country, someone happens to be there, then we make the magic happen wherever we are. I meet people where they're at.
We spoke about volcanoes earlier. Where's the most outrageous place that you've taken a photograph?
That's a good question. You know, not a photograph, but on two occasions, I was in a helicopter videotaping a staged car chase for this sizzle reel for a reality show pilot, where I had a video camera duct taped to my hand. They took the doors off the helicopter. I had a headset on, and then in the headset there was the co-pilot could hear it. The co-pilot had the walkie-talkie that was down to one of the cars, that was the lead car. And as I was rifling directions while I'm hanging out the side of a helicopter with a crappy seatbelt keeping me in, we actually got the shots that we needed. And oh, by the way, I'm deathly afraid of heights. So on the tape, you can hear me freaking out the whole time because I thought I was going to die while directing and shooting this thing. So that was pretty wild.
So the sound effects weren't of the tires screeching. That was actually you.
That was the tears of fright and fear coming from the depths of my soul. Yes. And that happened twice.
Twice.
Yeah.
Well, thank the good Lord that they invented drones with cameras, right?
Yeah, right? A lot easier now.
So, John, where am I sending folks to get in touch with you?
Oh, sure. The easiest place to find me would be my website, johndemato.com. You can also find me on social. I have all my socials linked through my website, so you can check that out. And if you're interested in learning more about visual storytelling, and specifically visual storytelling for experts, as I mentioned, I have a blog, and you could sign up for that there as well.
Awesome. Well, next time it's minus 20, 25, I'll invite you for a cup of tea in Oslo, and we can meet up then.
I'll be sure to bring a bubble that's heated, and we can sit in that.
Awesome. Thanks, John. It's been a great chat.
Same here. Thanks for having me.
I really do appreciate your comments, so why not go and watch this live on YouTube, or go to my website, kuhne.no, that's kuhne.no, for more information.